What is going on, everyone? It's Darkstrider, the YouTube Assassin, and today I'm bringing you a build that I decided to call the Greek Yogurt, um, mainly because it has the Greek hero set and the sort of yumminess, and I thought yumminess, Greeks, yogurt. Um, don't tell Lady Strider about that because she's trying to make me eat a little healthier, and she wants me to eat more yogurt, and I'm not into that. So I know you guys are going to bombard the comments anyway. Regardless, speaking of comments, a viewer who comments a lot on a couple of my videos, Garfild Nibieski, and I apologize if I butchered that name. If you watch this channel often, you know I'm not good with names or pronunciations or anything like that. It's a South Bronx Hispanic thing. I apologize. Regardless, he put in a comment that said, the False of Olympos, Sword of Yumminess, and Greek Hero set equals Beast. And I put it together. It's basically his brainchild, and I have not been disappointed. It is actually pretty insane and intense. I'm going to show you what I did, what I added to it. So here we go. So we start with the Blade of Yumminess. If you could put the ability that you get from here onto a different weapon that you're more comfortable with, then go for it. But this has plus 25% assassin damage in this build. We're not going to need it really. It's more of a warrior build. Plus 30% damage with swords. That's going to be big just for me because in this build I'm using the Blade of Yumminess as my main weapon. It is a sword. If you're into that kind of thing, swords, then use that. If not, find something comparable to it. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. But it has plus 250% all damage, but cannot use abilities. You cannot use not one ability, not even overpower attacks, not even the bow overpower attacks. So, it looks kind of scary, okay, but it's really not, and I'll show you why. To this, I added plus 10% damage. And also, before I go any further, I know a bunch of you are going to say, oh, this is BS. I have an epic build with epic gear and blah, 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 and whatever. And you know what? I don't care. This is really a blueprint for people who are either just getting into these builds or for people to kind of use as a blueprint if they want to go and find epic gear that's a lot better that they can add these kind of things to, So epic gear, there are different roles for different epic gear. You're not just going to find something and all of a sudden, it's got the same exact stats as like I have. If I have the same epic gear, if I'm doing an epic gear build, it's kind of hard to show epic gear builds. So I like to show you legendary and you kind of go with it. You use it as a blueprint. All right? That's why I do it like this. I don't know why I have to explain this in most of my videos, but for some reason, there's always going to be some knucklehead that comes out and says, oh, well, I could do this, that, and the other thing with this epic gear and that epic gear and everything. Good for you. Fantastic. Bravo. Here's a cookie. We're moving on. Now we go to the False of Olympos, which is a spear. Me, personally, I'm not comfortable with spears. That's why I'm maining the Sword of Yumminess, the sword. Again, this has 25% assassin damage, which it's really not going to be necessary in this build. 40% adrenaline per crit. That's another thing that's not really going to be necessary in this build, but I figured whatever, I'm just going with this kind of stuff. You could add the 100% damage, but health cap to 25% to anything else that you're comfortable with. That might do more warrior damage or more armor penetration or anything like that. So I'm just adding it. Again, this is the blueprint. I have plus 50% crit damage, and as you can see, the whole right side is full because I've done not only all of not only did I go to the blacksmith in that one area where you could buy all the upgrades, I've also gone and done all of the Astrakas. So I'll put a link to my videos in the description below that show the Astrakas and how to get all of them. I didn't do all of them on this file, which is my OP file. It's not a complete OP file, but I have an Alexios file where I did them all, and you'll see Alexios in all those videos anyway. But we want the crit damage. We want crit chance as well, and you'll see why. I use the ropes bow, 25% hunter damage, 20% damage with bow charge shot, both of which we're not really going to use, but it has 20% health and armor. If you could add that to any other bow that has like a warrior kind of feel to it, then go for it. I added 10% crit chance to this. Going over to the armor, we have Perseus' Crown. 25% warrior damage is going to be big here. 40% chance to ignore half damage. That's going to be big here because we're going to be a little bit squishy because we have this 100% damage, but health capped to 25%. I added plus 10% all damage. Now, for anybody who's new, any of the things in white, like you see here, 10% all damage, it can be repeated. Anything that's legendary, like the yellow, you'll see the Greek hero set, complete, has plus 30% all resistances. If you put it on another set, you cannot put 30% all resistances on multiple pieces because they do not stack. The legendary, which is going to be the yellow, like you see there, the 30% all resistances, does not stack. All the whites stack, the commons, 10% all damage, 40% chance to ignore half damage, 25% warrior damage, all stacks, okay? Moving over to the bracers of Theseus, another 25% warrior damage, 20% health, 30% total armor. We need that armor because we are going to be squishy, and I need to do the Astrakas because I'm pretty sure I bought all of this stuff from the blacksmith. I need to complete the Astrakas. It will most likely give me plus 50% total armor. So that's going to be big. Jason's Golden Fleece, the body piece. 25% warrior damage, 60% total armor. It may even be that if I complete this here. It may even give us like 120% total armor, which would be outstanding. I added 2% damage dealt restored as health. If we do a couple thousand points of damage on an enemy, what is 2% of that? That's really going to heal you. Moving over to Hippolyta's belt. Another 25% warrior damage, 30% melee resistance, which is great because we're going to run in there. We're going to fight off a bunch of enemies. Anybody who's using a sword, spear, shield, whatever like that, we're going to be able to have a 30% resistance against. Arrows, bombs, no. We're not going to have that resistance. So keep in mind that archers and everything like that, some of the mercenaries that throw stuff, we're really not going to have a good time with that. But I added plus 10% crit chance to that. All right, moving on to the Atlantis Sandals. Another 25% warrior damage, 20% elemental resistance. I added 10% all damage. This looks kind of crazy, but it all works out in the end. And just because it's like a Greek theme, I added Pegasus. Just because, you know, it was the whole Perseus thing and whatnot. You know, it's not necessary though. We don't need to worry about the horse. Anyway, as you can see, hunter damage not so big. Warrior damage, this isn't even that big. I've gotten bigger numbers. As you can see, my assassin damage is huge, but I always have assassin damage. Armor 5613 or 50,613. And our health, even though we're capped at 25%, 269,965. So, I mean, those are decent numbers. We'll go to the abilities. Now, again, this is my OP file. I have tons and tons and tons of ability points added to this. The great thing about this build, you do not need to put not one ability point in any of these abilities. None of this is going to help you. None of this is going to help you. As you can see from the Sword of Yumminess, it gives you 250% all damage, but you cannot use abilities. Not even the overpower attacks. Not even for the bow. You cannot use any of the... So instead of wasting any of your points on any of this, go to the Masteries. That all counts. That all stacks. Now, in Hunter, you really don't need much. Unless you're going with spears or staves. All you really need from here is the crit chance and the crit damage. 25% crit damage is huge when stacked with everything else. Alright, the crit chance, even though it's only 5%, that's still going to help us out. It's still going to be a lot. Alright, go over to the Assassin. Now, in Assassin, what we're going to need is If you're using the swords, damage with swords. If you're using daggers, damage with daggers. As you can see, 30% with both. So that is really going to help you out depending on the damage that you do. We also want to look at 10% crit chance while full health. Even though we are at 25% of our normal health, that still counts as full health. All right? If we take any hits, it immediately is low health. So you kind of want that, even though it's like, you know, like 25% still counts as full health. All right? The same thing with plus 50% crit damage while full health. That's going to be good. We're definitely going to want that. All right? I also added damage while full health, plus 20%. I mean, that's going to be big. That's going to be helpful, you know? Definitely want to have something like that. Moving along, let's see. We don't need any of the adrenaline because that's really not going to help us. We're not going to be able to use abilities. If you want, you can add the damage on elites and bosses. I find that this works for a lot of, like, you know, like the pole marks and things like that, and even some of the mercenaries. You're definitely going to want to have some of that. Going past that, obviously nothing with the abilities. None of this other stuff is going to work for us. So we're going to go to Warrior. Now, Warrior, you probably want to add damage after parry, okay? Because after parrying, if it's a successful parry, you'll be able to do a little more damage, so that's going to be good. You do want to add 20% warrior damage. On top of all that other warrior damage, this is only going to be helpful, all right? We're also going to, if you're using a heavy blunt weapon or a heavy bladed weapon, you may want to add that. Like I said, it's not necessary if you're not using a specific item. I'm using a spear and a staff, so I would, or a spear and a sword, so I would add that stuff to that. Crit chance while low health if you're taking a beating, but you really might not. The same thing with crit damage while low health. Again, you most likely are not taking a beating like that. You may want to add the damage on Athenian soldiers and Spartan soldiers if you're going to do conquest battles, or if you're going to raid a lot of forts and stuff like that. 20% health you definitely want, because again, even though we're at 25% health, we still may be a little squishy, so you may want to add that. And total armor, you also want to have whatever you can into total armor, so that's only going to help us out. Melee resistance, you may want to add it to. Armor penetration, you may want to add it to. And then you also want damage with warrior abilities. So let's see, yeah, right here. Even though it's only 5%, it still goes a long way. You know, so you definitely want to, like, kind of like max your stuff out. You know, only in certain cases if you don't have the items to spare. Okay, so now, in total, like if you followed everything that I said, it would probably be like 15 categories. If you put the 20 points in those 15 categories, it's really not that much. So, you know, like you definitely, those are what I would suggest as far as like putting the stuff in. So now, one more moment, let's take a look at what our stats are in general. So let's take a look at the details. Look, warrior damage plus 565%. That's just sick. That's obscene. All right. None of this stuff is really gonna matter. Damage with swords plus 60%. Damage with all the other weapons plus 30. I mean, that's decent. Critical hit chance 40%. Critical hit damage plus 175%, which is awesome. Chance while full health is going to be 50%, with the damage being 225%. That's big. Same thing with low health. I mean, that'll help out. If you're confident you're not going to be in low health and you're going to be full health mostly, then you don't even have to add ability or mastery points into any of those things. All right, as we go over here, I mean, fire damage and buildup we're really not going to use, especially since we don't have any of those abilities that we can use. If you have a weapon that has fire damage or whatever, and that might be a good idea to add like whatever to that. All right, adrenaline, headshots, all this stuff, we're not going to use. Okay, again, the unique modifiers, health cap to 25%, 250% all damage, 2% damage dealt restored as health, and that's not even counting any of the common stuff that we added. So now, this is just a go in there and smash people build. Look at that. That was a one shot. This is going to be a two shot, it looks like. No crit chance. Which kind of sucks, but it's whatever. You know what, let's make this a little more fun. Let's go and get a whole bunch of people together. Let's rile them up. No, it won't be my last mistake, pal. There we go. Let's get everybody together. Let's get the whole gang together. You know what? I'm even going to be a jerk. I'm going to light that brazier. There we go. Hey, guys, what's happening? That's what I want to see. Again, you can't use abilities, but I mean, this damage is nice. And as you can see, I'm not really taking like a lot of damage. I keep forgetting these guys have shields. Ooh, a mercenary! I just did. Funny thing is sometimes you could actually hide behind these things and like lose everybody. Oh, we want to see the action. We don't want to hide. Why am I climbing? And that was my XP and material farm, Trackers Fort. Ubisoft, feel free to erase the entire fort that you guys built. Ban yourselves for building a fort like this. As you can see, with minimal effort, am I not only hacking these guys to death, but even them attacking me really is not doing a lot of damage. It's really not. And like I said, the secret is, even though we are with a lot of squishy gear, we want to make sure that we don't have a lot of reason to be super squishy. Was that the entire fort? I think that was the entire fort. Yep, I guess that was the entire fort. That's kind of sad, even when I lit the brazier. And that's all they gave me. Alright, well, I mean, that's all there is to it. It is a fun build. It's going to test your skills. You may not, like, right away be able to, like that, where you're doing, like, extra damage and whatnot, but you definitely want to try. You definitely want to practice your dodging. You definitely want to, like, I mean, use a weapon that you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with swords, daggers, whatever, use that. You know, you don't have to use what I used in this build. As I said before, it's a blueprint, but as you can see, it was kind of devastating, and I really made short work of these guys. So let me know in the comments below. What do you think of this build? What do you think of like these items? Do you think that they're like really cleverly put together? Do you think that, you know, it was a boon that we got like all those things? What do you think of the Sword of Yumminess? Were you like afraid to use it? Or is it something that you're just going to use as like a cosmetic item, so you kind of have like a samurai looking build? I know it's Jordan does. Jordan, he actually has like a really cool looking samurai build where his character really looks like a samurai and whatnot. And, you know, he's got a couple of fun builds, so you may want to check that out. You know, you may even be more interested in using the Sword of Yumminess as a cosmetic item as opposed to like an actual item. But anyway, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Other than that, I really do hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out an awful lot, especially if you want to see more crazy builds like this and other things having to do with Assassin's Creed, as well as many other games that I'm going to be getting into very soon. Ask all your friends and family to like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.